What up, YouTube? Long time no see. Welcome back to another video. I know I'm late to the party with this, but I want to come through and speak on the situation involving the rappers Milli and Ice Spice and accusations of colorism. And for those of you who don't know or who may not be familiar, um, you know, Ice Spice has been getting rather popular rather quickly. And some people may feel like it's like she's not deserving of it and that people are gravitating toward her more than Flo Milli due to colorism, more or less, right? And as well, people feel like the industry is pushing Ice Spice, and people within the industry are gravitating toward Ice Spice because of more or less colorism. I'll say that I am more familiar with Ice Spice than I am with Flo Milli. However, I have heard of both of them prior to this situation. But I will say that Flo Milli, for me, it like I heard of her, but when I hear the name, nothing really comes to mind because I'm not familiar with her. So I decided to just look up some videos on YouTube of Flo Milli. And I'm like, okay, all right. And I'll say, based on what I've seen from Flo Milli and based on what I've seen from Ice Spice, I do feel like Flo Milli has the edge when it comes to talent. But of course, we all know that the music industry is not like who's successful in the music industry is not based on who's the most talented. Not to say that talent is completely ignored, but I do feel like talent is secondary and marketability is primary. And in this case with Ice Spice and Flo Milli, I do feel like perhaps for a lot of people, and especially people in the industry, they may feel like Ice Spice is more marketable than Flo Milli because she has a look that appeals to more people. Not saying that Flo Milli doesn't look good, not saying she ugly because Flo Milli looks good too. Both Ice Spice and Flo Milli are beautiful women. Nevertheless, when these accusations of colorism started to make their rounds on the internet, Flo Milli had something to say, which was stop using me to down another artist. And also that her talent has taken her around the world. And the thing is, in situations like these, I feel like it would be better if Flo Milli would just not speak on the situation at all. And not to say that she can't address colorism, but the way that she's addressing it is it's like she's saying like, oh, it doesn't affect me. Oh, it doesn't exist. Oh, that's not my problem. And I congratulate her on having a talent that has taken her all around the world. But that doesn't necessarily negate colorism. Just like, Oprah, being as wealthy as she is, doesn't negate racism. The same with Shaq, Magic Johnson, and the rest of them, right? Yeah. And I'll say, I do feel like Ice Spice's hype is more so based around her aesthetic, her look, versus her talent. And I remember when Megan Thee Stallion first came on the scene, people were talking about her pen game, which is a little different when it comes to female rappers because a lot of times it, not to say that lyrics aren't important and lyricism is not important, but people are really hyper focused on looks when it comes to women in general, but also female rappers. And so far, I haven't really heard people going crazy over Ice Spice's lyricism, her lyrics, her pen game like that. And I personally do feel like if you are a darker skinned black woman in the industry, just honestly in general in the industry, whether it's like acting, singing, rapping, like you definitely got to have some talent. Like for some reason, it seems like they're less likely to be able to coast based on their looks and to get by based on their looks. Not to say that they don't look good, not to say that they aren't beautiful, but I think it comes down to a combination of marketability and like a bias when it comes to skin tone and like phenotype and the beauty standard and how that factors in as well. But to be fair, we don't know how much money Flo Milli is making versus how much money Ice Spice is making, because sometimes it can look like these folks are making a lot of money because you see them everywhere, but when it comes down to it, they might not have as much money as you think they do. So while you do see Ice Spice everywhere, Ice Spice could be broke. We don't know. We don't know that. And while you may not see Flo Milli in so many places, she could still be getting to the money because of the shows that she does and perhaps some business on the back end. But I think people want to see like, a darker skinned black female rapper being pushed, like Ice Spice is. And I feel like that has low key happened more or less with like Megan Thee Stallion. I'll say that Megan Thee Stallion, she's brown skinned, so perhaps people may not feel that that's, quote unquote dark enough. But, it's definitely a step in the right direction. And as well with the City Girls too. However, I meant to mention this earlier in the video, but in Flo Milli's defense of her comments about this situation, I'll say that she can only say so much about colorism in the industry without implicating important people within the industry. So she can't go full force against colorism. And as well, she probably does not want to be viewed as like a victim, because just in general, don't want to be viewed as a victim, but also part of her rap persona, she's supposed to be like, this confident, a very confident, in control woman. And her embracing a victim narrative would go completely against that. So, I'm going to try to offer Flo Milli some grace in this situation. But really, I kind of feel like it would be better for her just to not speak on it. However, Ice Spice actually addressed the situation too, and pretty much she just downplayed it. But the thing is, Ice Spice is in a better position to do that, and it would be in her best interest to downplay colorism, or just not speak on it at all. Really, I feel like Ice Spice really probably should not have spoken on it at all either. Because usually that's how it goes when these accusations start being thrown around about colorism. It's like, oh, the darker skinned woman is speaking on it, but the lighter skinned woman is silent about it. Because in many situations, it's oftentimes better just to not say anything. And as well, sometimes when you speak on a particular topic, you give it more life than it should have. Also, a quick sidebar. A lot of people are saying, oh, these light-skinned female rappers, they all over the place. And it's like they are, but are they really getting much traction in the industry outside of maybe Ice Spice? Well, let's say Ice Spice, and perhaps Lotto. Because the rest of them, I'm like, who? Outside of like Sweetie, I do know Sweetie, but it seemed like ever since her and Quavo broke up, her rap career has not been the same. Her rap career is still trying to recover from that breakup. And low key, that's probably what's going to happen with Cardi B. Oh yeah, I guess I can include Cardi B on that list too. Would she be considered a non-black female rapper? Because y'all be saying that she ain't black. Or would she be considered a light-skinned female rapper? For the purposes of this video, I'll put her on the list as well. Yeah, Cardi B, she has had some success, but it seems like her career, for one reason or another, has sort of stalled. But okay, you got Cardi B, you got Ice Spice, and perhaps Lotto. So I guess that's something. That's something. And it seemed like, the darker skinned black women have like the City Girls and Megan Thee Stallion. Am I missing somebody on either side? If I am, let me know in the comment section. Well, I'll say Doja Cat. I think Doja Cat sometimes is not classified as a rapper, but I'll say that Doja Cat is a rapper. So I'll say Doja Cat on that list too. But a lot of times it doesn't seem like Doja Cat is brought up a lot of times in rap conversations. Female rap conversations especially. And some people speculate that, Flo Milli should more or less be on the level of a Doja Cat based on what she's bringing to the table in regards to talent. And, I think there is some truth in that, perhaps. I think there may be some truth in that. But, Doja Cat didn't happen overnight, though. It took a while for Doja Cat to get where she is, though. And perhaps Flo Milli could be on her own path to get to that sort of level. On the flip side, maybe Flo Milli doesn't want that level. Who knows? Oh yeah, how could I forget? Nicki Minaj on the light-skinned girl list too. And let's speak on Nicki Minaj for a moment. Because Nicki Minaj sort of chimed into this situation as well. And she said something to the effect of that, people who are complaining and have an issue with Flo Milli's career being affected by colorism do need to support Flo Milli organically. She should not only come up in conversations about colorism in the music industry, which I know that Nicki Minaj is deflecting, but I do think that she does have a point. Where it's like folks will say, oh, it's colorism, but at the end of the day, are you supporting these darker skinned black female musical artists who are affected by colorism? Not just when you are prompted to do so, like when we having these conversations, but outside of these conversations, are you really supporting them, whether with your viewership or with your dollars? A quick sidebar. Some people feel like Nicki Minaj is grooming Ice Spice. And Ice Spice is grooming North West, who is Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's daughter. Regarding Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice, yeah, it kind of looks like it. I wouldn't be surprised with Nicki. I wouldn't put it past Nicki Minaj. And in regards to Ice Spice and North West, I wouldn't put it past Kim Kardashian. Ice Spice, I'm not sure if she's consciously doing it. If she is, I don't know. She could be, maybe. But then again, maybe she's just like, oh, we on a play date. Which I think is a bit odd for your daughter, who is not an adult, to have a play date with an adult. And an adult who is, has a provocative image. But then again, the mom has a provocative image too. So, You really do have to be extremely careful and selective who you have your kids with. That goes for both men and women. And I'm just going to leave it at that for the time being. But I do have to jump back to Nicki Minaj for a moment and bring up this situation. You guys remember there was the point in female rap where it was just pretty much Nicki Minaj in the mainstream. That was it. Just Nicki Minaj in the mainstream representing female rap. And I will give Nicki Minaj credit for keeping that female rap lane open in the mainstream with her presence. You know, they try to throw an Iggy Azalea at her, but that didn't work. You know, they was pushing Iggy Azalea to dethrone Nicki Minaj, but not enough people were going for that. However, Remy Ma, she ended up starting the process to, you know, quote unquote, dethrone Nicki Minaj from being like the only female rapper in the mainstream. But Cardi B ended up kind of taking the benefits of that. You know, Cardi B ended up benefiting from that more than Remy Ma did. I'm not sure exactly why. Perhaps maybe it was just bad marketing on Remy Ma and her team. Maybe people felt like, oh, Cardi B is who they want to support more. I don't know. But it looks like a combination of Remy Ma and Cardi B ended up dethroning Nicki Minaj. And, you know, Nicki Minaj, she had a good run. She had a whole, at least a decade where it was just her. That's it. She didn't really have any competition from female rappers. And also notice, I got to bring this up too. Notice that when Nicki Minaj had her run, at least a 10-year run with just her in the industry representing female rap, she wasn't really trying to put other female rappers on like that. At least from what I have seen. It doesn't seem like she was trying to put female rappers on like that. She was not doing collaborations. She was not mentoring. She didn't have any proteges. No collaborations, at least from what I've seen, not many. And all that is fine at the end of the day. It is. But I do find it interesting that now, since you got more or less kicked off the throne, knocked off the top, now you kind of trying to jump on these up and coming female rappers and like their songs now, all of a sudden. Like jumping on Doja Cat's song, jumping on Megan Thee Stallion's song, jumping on Bia's song. And those are just the ones that come to my mind off the top of my head. But I think it's low-key just a way to stay relevant without having to put in so much work, you know, in regards to Nicki Minaj jumping on these women's tracks. And the same thing with Cardi B, she's doing it too. But I'll say that I think Cardi B seems more welcoming to new up-and-coming female rappers versus Nicki Minaj. At least on the surface, right? At least, like, it seems. But before I go, I just want to bring this video to a close and just finish out with a few more thoughts. And that is, ultimately, at this moment, I do think that Ice Spice is more or less like a flavor of the moment. As of this moment, I don't see her having like a lot of longevity in the music industry. You know, I could see her just kind of fading out, sort of more or less like Sweetie. You know, or she may encounter some controversy that may derail her career. Like, you know, if it comes out that, you know, Ice Spice doesn't date black men. Oh, you know it's over. You know it is over if something like that were to be true. You know, that happened to Doja Cat actually. But but Doja Cat was able to transition with a mainstream audience. Transition to a mainstream audience. And y'all know that little Uzi Squirt gonna be disappointed if Ice Spice isn't open to dating black men. But hey, at least E.T. phoned home from the city rats to have him back, right? Right?
Give me your phone.
Uzi, best dressed couple at the BET Awards for sure. Without a doubt, Uzi. I just want to rock with you now. Uzi, what's the inspiration to the fit?
Back up. I gotta wear a fit like a movement just in case you jump on.
Yeah, man.
But in regards to Ice Spice and her potential dating preferences, some people saying, well, probably it's not like that. But the thing is, though, here's where I'm coming from, though. It could very well just be that Ice Spice does date black men. It seems like that is what it is. But the reason that I think that something like this could happen with Ice Spice is that Ice Spice's mom, from what I heard, is Dominican. And her dad is either Nigerian or African American. I hear conflicting stories, so I'm not sure about that. So if he is Nigerian, I'm thinking perhaps maybe he's on the darker end of the skin tone spectrum. But then again, there are some Nigerians like Rotimi who are on the lighter end of the skin tone spectrum. As well, if her dad is African American, it can more or less be the same thing with that too. But, you guys probably have heard, maybe you haven't, but, with that, Afro-Latino Dominican influence from her mom, Ice Spice could be either concentrating on just dating her male equivalent or either, very much want to mejorar la raza, better the race, quote unquote, meaning kind of get with someone who is more leaning towards like whiteness or, pretty much leaning towards whiteness. Let's be real. But, this is just my personal speculation. I could be wrong. Who knows? But that's just something to think about, though, because, these dudes who are going gaga goo goo over Ice Spice like they were for Doja Cat, at the end of the day, it's based on an assumption that she is interested in dating black men, which may be a true assumption, or it may not be. But with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think about this situation in the comments section below. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.